Now, this one that we see right here that I believe should have been a flagrant foul was not called that. So there have been cheap shots, there have been hard fouls, there have been other plays that haven't even been called flagrant foul.
Caitlin Clark finally exposed all those corrupt WNBA referees who had made her life difficult the whole year. I mean, who could forget when she picked up her 6th technical foul just for hitting? The stance in frustration, and no, it wasn't just one. Instead, she has been the target of questionable calls all season, with the ref seemingly whistleblowing her without clear reason.
Dejanay Carrington poked Caitlin Clark in the eye. Caitlin fell to the ground. She was holding her face. The refs did not call a foul. They didn't call a flagrant foul.
Remember that time she got penalized for barely brushing an opponent's face? Or when she let out a loud celebratory shout and bam, technical foul? But hold on, where were these so-called referees when Carrington smacked her in the eye, leaving her half blinded and still playing in the playoffs? Oh right, they were probably out having lunch, or maybe just completely colorblind. Well, whatever the excuse, it doesn't even matter anymore because Clark's been vocal about it, and honestly, that's enough.
That is the use of these WNBA referees pretty much altering games, changing the outcome of games, and something has to be done in regards to that matter. The WNBA referees has definitely been playing a major role in who's winning games and who's losing games.
And we all know Caitlin Clark's season has been nothing short of spectacular, but there's one glaring issue that seems to follow her wherever she goes: a special whistle that no one can ignore. Caitlin Clark is the absolute powerhouse who's been crushing it this season. I mean, her achievements are nothing short of legendary. She's the NCAA all-time leading scorer. She has racked up a jaw-dropping 3,951 points, smashing records held by legends like Kelsey Plum and even Pete Maravich. Talk about clutch. So yeah, we're talking about someone who's rewriting the record books with every game, but the treatment she's getting right now, it's totally absurd.
Here's Clark. Her 29 points gets tripped up. The Fever really stretched out this one in the second half as we look at Diamond DeShields and Caitlin Clark.
Seriously, it's like every time she's involved in a play, the referee are working off a completely different set of rules that just happen to ignore her. Missed calls, check fouls that are conveniently overlooked. I mean, the corruption in the WNBA is as visible as a triple-double stat line.
Clark, the hesitation, working inside the reverse. Owen took a big hit there on Jackie.
And those shoulder charges and landing zone violations that other players would get whistled for immediately. For Clark, it's like the refs don't even see them. Maybe they're too busy watching her break records to notice the blatant no calls.
There can be women who are older than you, better than you on your team, but if they see that you are a young star and you're doing really well, they will do whatever they can do to sabotage your success.
This special whistle treatment isn't just a minor inconvenience, it drastically changes the course of the game. She's a playmaker, one of the most talented players on the court, and her team is expected to fight tooth and nail without getting the same protection other superstars get. It's honestly a shame when you think about it.
Unfortunately, on top of taking the L to the Aces, she also picked up her 6th technical foul in the second quarter of last night's game after slapping the side of the basket, the padding on the basket down there in frustration.
Then there's the whole issue with technical fouls. This is where things really start to feel like a witch hunt. Caitlin Clark has racked up 6 technical fouls this season, and I'm not talking about throwing punches or starting fights. Nope, these texts are the result of Clark just being frustrated. Are you serious, man? 6 technical fouls for the fact that she's unbeatable.
And it's major because it's her 6th one. If she gets one more, she is suspended.
Clark's now 2 technical fouls away from a suspension too. For what? For being human. I mean, is the WNBA trying to make her a martyr for showing a little emotion on the court? She's not throwing punches. She's not cussing out the refs. She's just being real. Something that seems to get penalized way more than it should. Funny how Clark seems to be held to a completely different standard, and it's almost like the refs have this special radar that goes off whenever she shows any emotion.
You know, I think she got fouled and missed those 2 free throws, and then, you know, got frustrated with the officiating at times. But, like, that's where we've got to be better, and we've got to, you know, handle those things. It's not going to be perfect. Those guys aren't going to be perfect. We're not perfect.
But the question of worth million is how these technical fouls start to shape Clark's reputation as an emotional player even. Though we all know she's just passionate and driven this sort of labeling has long-term effects.
Hey, LeBron, you're 100% right on these girls hating on Caitlin Clark. Y'all petty girls.
But this whole situation is gold, because this is how world could see the real face of these biased referees. Caitlin turned the table and exposed what type of corruption WNBA referees do behind closed doors. According to her, the referee slapped her with a tech because she showed emotion after a controversial call. Shocking, right? And you know what, experts, fans, and even referees themselves know that they're doing wrong.
You know, I think she got fouled and missed those 2 free throws, and then, you know, got frustrated with the officiating at times, but like that's where we've got to be better.
In the grand scheme of things, it's clear that Clark is getting the short end of the stick, and it's not just this one game. The league can't seem to get it right, penalizing her for showing frustration while ignoring the blatant fouls happening right in front of their faces. It's almost like the refs are trying to turn her into the villain just for being passionate. But don't worry, WNBA, you'll figure this out eventually. Well, I hope so.
Seattle, and all of a sudden, we're pretty close. This has been as close as it's been all second quarter long, 44.
When you're one of the top players in the WNBA, you'd expect to get a little bit of protection from the referees, right? But that's not what Caitlin Clark has been getting this season, in fact. It's like the referees have a blind spot whenever she's on the floor, and it's not just minor calls being missed. There are some dangerous and game-changing situations being completely ignored.
There was also a stat that came out a few weeks ago that said Caitlin Clark received 17% of the WNBA's flagrant fouls this season, and 80% of those flagrant fouls were committed by the Chicago Sky.
There's a pretty solid argument that Caitlin Clark is the official target of some kind of twisted referee-sanctioned vendetta. 80% of Clark's flagrant fouls this season came from the Chicago Sky. Yep, you heard that right, one single team. I mean, how is it possible that one team is racking up more flagrant fouls against a single player than most of the league combined? But sure, totally not biased, right? Statistically, that's a glaring red flag, but it doesn't stop. Their fans on social media have been buzzing about this trend, with many of them pointing out the consistent bias they see in how Clark is treated by referees. It's not just a random observation from the peanut gallery, it's a pattern that people are picking up on, and it's raising some serious eyebrows.
But now is a funny one, because we're now seeing like the same WNBA media that were happy. Well, not even, I'm not gonna say happy, but like, we're like, oh, these are normal fouls, this is just normal basketball. Now, when it happens in the NBA, making it a bigger deal. And this is where kind of the problem is that it was one rule for Caitlin and one rule for everybody else.
This kind of treatment doesn't just come from fans and online commentary. Either some of the most respected WNBA analysts and commentators have started bringing up during broadcasts. They're openly questioning whether there's some kind of referee bias against Clark, and they're not afraid to call it out on air. Now here's where it gets even more concerning. As the WNBA continues to fight for more attention, more fans, and more respect, the integrity of the game is under serious scrutiny. WNBA has been making strides in recent years.
The way that she controls the game and play makes and gets everybody involved, but also, you know, the step backs and her shot, she reminds me a lot of Luka.
The league has been growing, getting more recognition, and pulling in more viewers. But this whole officiating mess, it's a huge step backward. Fans who are new to the sport or casual viewers won't stick around if they feel like the game is rigged, or if they're constantly seeing their favorite players get unfair treatment. If referees continue to show this level of inconsistency and bias, it's going to cost the WNBA in the long run.
And take notes from the NBA. What the NBA did elevated the product. Let these women score more, let them put points up, and stop these BS cheap shots.
So I'd suggest WNBA to do something for better training for the refs. I mean, sure, they're trained in the sense that they know what a basketball looks like, but clearly the WNBA could take a few notes from the NBA's decades of fine-tuning. Their officiating system, they at least have set some kind of standard, right? So why not let the WNBA borrow a page from their book and train their refs to handle a little more pressure, you know, consistently.
And the superstars on all levels, Caitlin Clark, Asia Wilson, Nafisa Collier, Sabrina Ionescu, Breanna Stewart, they should all get a special whistle. Nneka Ogwumike, they should all get a special whistle. Those are the stars. That's the privilege you get when you get to that level.
Talking about stars protection, you know how the NBA goes out of its way to make sure its top players get a little extra cushion. If LeBron James gets touched in the paint, the refs are probably calling a foul, even if it's a soft one. Well, BC, they care for them as their lifeblood of the league. They draw the fans, the ratings, the sponsorships. But hey, here's a thought. Couldn't the WNBA use this moment to make a bold move to show everyone that They're ready to do what it takes to fix the system, take accountability, and prioritize the players, and in turn their fans. Can we look beyond the same old problems and ask if it's time to push the reset button on how games are officiated, how players are treated, and how the league positions itself for the future? Because if they don't act now, it might not just be the referees who need retraining. The whole league could be in need of a serious wake-up call. So what's it going to be, WNBA? Keep turning a blind eye to the issues at hand, or actually step up and fix the mess the clock's ticking?